We are recording and the webinar is live.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're just going to give it just a quick moment as folks start to filter in to the session. All right, so we'll get started. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining our afternoon. Had to check the time for a second, see what time it is. Our Thursday afternoon session titled Personal Medical Technology to Support Aging at Home and on the Go. So my name is Sam Doherty. I'm a community health promoter with the North Bay Prairie Sound District Health Unit. My pronouns are she and her. So I will be introducing our speaker today in just one moment. But before I do that, I just want to go through a couple of housekeeping items. So during the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box, which you can locate likely on the bottom of your screen, but it does depend on what kind of device you're using. That you can put any comments or questions in the chat box, and Gord will answer those at the end of the presentation. We will also let you know, come the end, there is an option to use the raise hand function where Kelsey can unmute you and you can ask away. So Kelsey will also be monitoring the chat. If you happen to have any technology issues, please include those in the chat box and we'll do our best to troubleshoot with you along the way. What else did I see? Everybody's mics and cameras are off for the presentation. And we will be recording today's session and it will be available at a later date if you happen to want to go back and take another listen. And our apologies that we had been hoping to have closed captions available, but unfortunately, we've had some technical issues with that, but we are looking to troubleshoot that for some of the recordings at a later time. So I would like to introduce our host, Gord Turner. Gord is currently the Vice President of Sales and Operations with Helpline and CareLink Advantage, where he's been part of the team for over 10 years. The goal of their division is to provide medical technology solutions to keep seniors at home safely and provide peace of mind to their caregivers. There are complete bios for all of our presenters available on our website. And I would just like to say thank you to Gord for joining today and thank all of you. And Gord, I'll turn it over to you to get started.
Thanks, Samantha, and welcome everybody to the afternoon session. As Sam said, my name is Gord Turner. I'm from Helpline and CareLink Advantage, and we are based out of Sudbury and North Bay, so we have two offices. We're part of the Northern Communications group of companies. We're a large organization, been in business for over 60 years. So I'm going to talk a bit about the large organization, certainly get into talking about Helpline and CareLink Advantage. Before I move on, I'd like to just do a land acknowledgement by acknowledging the Robinson Huron Treaty of 1850. I further recognize that Helpline and CareLink Advantage are located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and acknowledge the nearby Anishinaabe communities of Doki First Nation and the Temagami First Nation. As I'm personally located in the city of Greater Sudbury, I acknowledge the traditional lands of the Wahnapitae First Nation. And descendants of settlers, we extend our deepest respect to all Indigenous peoples. So what about our time today? Just a bit of an agenda here that I'm going to talk about and just try and give you a nice appreciation of the technology that's available for personal use at home and on the go, and then talk about some of the benefits and things like that. So please, if you've got any questions, love to have the questions, and it means that it's creating some great interest. So look forward to those. First of all, I'm going to put everybody to work. So I'm going to ask Kelsey to put up the poll, number one. And question is, have you used a personal medical button in the past? So here it is.
We're at 70% participation.
Okay, thank you.
Sitting at 80%. We'll wait a couple more seconds.
Thank you.
Well, and the poll, it's looking like big majority is saying no.
So that's great. I mean, you know, this session is going to serve as an education session for you and talk about how they would benefit you. So that kind of makes the our second poll. Do you currently have a personal medical button? And if you answered no to this one, the first one, then certainly this one. But we're going to do the poll anyways to see what the results say. I think I already know, but let's see what happens.
Well, this one is throwing us for a loop here,
Yeah.
Gord.
Well, nice to see that one person has it, and I see.
Those are results here.
Yeah, fantastic. So 80% participated, and so one person has a medical button at present, and the remainder do not.
So we have a comment in the chat says, I used to care for someone with a button who absolutely refused to press it.
Yes. Very good. Okay, excellent. So I'm going to address the common myths as to why they refuse to press it. If this individual who's asking the question would like to put why they thought they refused to press it, I'll certainly speak to it in the presentation. But absolutely, I was with the client yesterday. A little personal story here, and you know, the family, the daughter says, you know, I know my mom's going to wear it, but I just don't know if she's going to press it. But we do everything we can to keep her safe. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We can't, you know, we can't predict if they're going to press it, but we hope that they do in the case that they actually need it. So I certainly appreciate everyone's participation in the poll, and I will absolutely address that. And thank you to the person who raised that comment. As I said, Helpline and CareLink Advantage are part of a larger group of companies called Northern Communications. And so Northern Communications has been in business for over 60 years. And we actually started out as an answering service using pagers and very dated equipment that would be dated now. And so we've done it all. And it's, as time has progressed, Northern has grown, and through acquisitions and mergers and things like that, we have grown our business to currently offer other areas of communication. So not only Helpline and CareLink, which offer that personal medical technology. We have our own residential and commercial alarm company called True Steel Security. You've likely seen our blue badges around town. We have our own monitoring station based out of Sudbury called Northern 911. They monitor accounts across North America. And then we also have our own telephone answering service. So, you know, a client may be where after hours, all of their phones go to our telephone answering service, and then we provide the after hours service. So that's what our telephone answering service does. So we're a large company. We offer great personal, the great personal touch, great personal service with offices in both Sudbury and in North Bay. The other nice thing about Northern Communications is it's privately owned. So that certainly is a nice touch as well. From a Helpline perspective, we've been offering technology to seniors for over 30 years. And with the internet and online commerce and things like that, we now provide services from, we've got customers on Newfoundland and right out to Vancouver Island. So we can certainly offer that service, and it works extremely well wherever you are. So what's, when we look at the button itself, we want to talk about what are some of the benefits of having it. First and foremost is this notion of access to immediate help. And really what happens a lot of the time is that clients have a fall in their home, they're not close to their phone, and so they're unable to reach it. And sadly, they have a long line on the floor. And the number one goal of having a medical button would be to prevent those long lines. And I'm going to explain the why behind that shortly. The other notion too is the ability to stay at home as long as possible, keeping your independence and providing that peace of mind to your caregivers and your loved ones. So if they're away and you run into trouble, or your loved one runs into trouble, help is close by with the push of a button. So that would be one of the reasons why you would want to consider having a helpline button. They are discreet, they are lightweight. We can change the bands, and I'm smiling because we often have customers who like to use their own bands just to make it more like bling. And that's the nice thing, is that all these buttons are interchangeable with various types of bands and necklaces and things like that. So gone are the days of having a big button, big and clunky. They are nice, they're lightweight, they're discreet, they have varying types of bands. So if I show one here, this is you can see, we'll be seeing in the picture, but you can see how small this is compared to my watch here. So again, they're nice, and they're very lightweight, and they're waterproof too. From a rental perspective, the other nice thing is that from Helpline, there is no long-term contract. There's no cancellation fees. And that's an important topic because, and one of the most highly asked questions when folks call us about our services. No need to worry about being locked into for 6 months or 12 months on the service. It's month to month. And that's important because we do appreciate that things do change quickly. And certainly being locked into a contract for 6 to 12 months, paying for something that you're not using can be a bone of contention. And I would be frustrated by that as well. So recognizing that, it's always been our policy to have no long-term contract or cancellation fees. The fact that we're locally owned and operated is of huge benefit as well, because if you run into a problem or an issue, or you want to change your band, or just something happens to the panel, power surge, things like that, things that are unexpected, the fact that we are local means that you have 24/7 service, and we're close by. So if something happens, we can usually often solve it in the same day. So another poll question for you. What percentage of falls occur in the home?
Give folks 10 more seconds to answer the poll. And we'll share our results.
Yeah. Thank you. So some varied answers, and And I'm very pleased to see that 75% of the crowd really see this as falls in the home as being a big problem and a major contributor. And in fact, the answer is 60% of all falls occur in the home, and that falls are a leading cause of injury for Ontario residents age 65 and plus. So this is extremely important because, as I mentioned before, the whole point of having a button is to prevent that long lie and have access to immediate help. And a further review of literature suggests two other things as well, that the longer the lie can be indicative of how long you stay in the hospital. And not in all cases. If you fall and you break your hip and you're going to be in the hospital, but there's a pretty good marker suggesting that if you lie on the floor a long time, you could be in the hospital for a lot longer than had you not lied on the floor. The other very item that's a high note, a worthy note to think about is that the longer the lie on the floor can put you at higher risk for future falls and hospitalization. So, you're just at higher risk because you've lied on the floor. You may have lost muscle mass, things like that. So it's really important that we make sure that you do not lie on the floor that long at all. My friends at the North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit have provided me with this information. So I know Sam and Taylor, if you're on as well, if you want to pipe in for this. This is, this slide was showed earlier in the week. I think it's Samantha's presentation, and I asked her for it because I really think that this is. I was actually quite shocked at the results here. The fact that in the North Bay, we are above the Ontario average, and we're above the Northeast average as well. I don't know why that is the case. I mean, I can see the Northeast being higher than Ontario because of our weather, ice, snow, the slips and trips and things like that. So I can certainly appreciate that. But we're, and the note here, falls are the leading cause of injury-related death, hospitalization, and emergency department visits for older adults in Canada. And so this is something that we certainly want to take note of. Sam, Taylor, anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, I think you really captured it there, Gord. And I think that the only thing I was going to mention was what you kind of said as well. It's like we can kind of speculate as to why we might be higher, including our weather and that kind of stuff being in a northern region. But yeah, we are pretty substantially higher and lots of things that contribute to falls, including built environments, ease of walking around. And yeah, it's hard to say where that rise might be and why we might be so high. So it's great to hear your presentation today to see how we can kind of help folks who may be experiencing falls.
Thanks, Samantha. And I just saw the note here, and I'm going to just read it word for word just so I don't mess it up. It is estimated that 1 in 3 adults 65 years and older and 1 in 2 adults 80 years and older experience a fall each year. So that's a pretty high statistic. So something just to keep in mind. So when we look at the technology itself, there are multiple options, of course. And I think the first thing you have to ask yourself is, how are you going to primarily use the button? Is it going to be something that I'm going to be just using at home? Am I an active aging adult? And I want to have that ability and flexibility to contact somebody if I'm out and about. Or do I want to have something for both options? And so it's that's something to consider. The next thing to consider is if you're going to be just using it for at home, do I have a landline or do I just have a cell phone? So there are options for both of that type of setup. And what we're seeing now, in fact, is that aging adults are actually dumping their landline phone. If you had asked me 5 years ago, I said, no, that's not the case at all. Aging adults love their landlines, and when you ask them why, it's because they love to talk to their grandchildren, and that made great sense. But now with Facebook and certainly COVID and we're hearing, we've heard presentations all week about aging adults, being online more and things like that, that they're finding that the landlines is not of much value anymore. So we have an option for that non-landline client, and it works extremely well. Other considerations to think about, do I want this button to be waterproof? I would think yes, but not all buttons are waterproof. Some of them are water resistant. Device charging, do I want to have to put it on a charger and charge it, or do I want to have something that's carefree, sealed, that when the battery goes low, the good folks at Helpline will replace it at no charge? So those are things to think about. Mobile devices are typically bulkier and heavier. They don't have a wrist option. And another thing too here that we're talking about more is the fact that when the power goes out, do I have access to help? So we'll talk all about that. So I'm going to take a quick snapshot of each of the systems that we offer. I'm going to do a little bit of a show and tell. So if I reach away from the camera, it's to grab the equipment. So I'm going to first talk about our Helpline at home. So it's on the screen, but I'm going to put it up to the camera because I think it just so it's, and I have a pretty big head. So the panel is quite small. It has it's nice and sleek. It has all kinds of options for volume and things like that. This is our landline version. So out of the back, you would have a power cord, and then you would have a landline going to your phone jack. If you only have one phone jack, no problem at all. We would plug your existing phone into the back of the Helpline and reroute it through there. The same with an answering machine. You won't have to get rid of anything. It can all reroute through the Helpline. It has a nice slick button that I showed you earlier. Lightweight, multiple wrist options. You can also wear it as around the neck as a pendant. I am wearing the fall detection button for our landline unit. So it's quite small. It's extremely lightweight, and it's designed to detect falls. It's designed to detect certain types of falls and then send that signal into our monitoring station. Waterproof and lightweight, again, for this unit as well. Our non-landline unit is even smaller than our other unit. Looks like this here. Again, two-way voice through the box, has a large help button. So if you're not wearing your button, you can always summon help by pressing the help button on the panel. Again, in terms of button options, you've got wrist and pendant options. You've also got fall detection. The nice thing about this unit is that it operates off of cellular. If the power goes out, this unit will continue to work because it's not, it does have a backup battery, but it's not dependent on your phone line. So if you have, say, a phone that is provided by an internet provider, your phone requires power to operate. So in the event of a power outage, your power is going to be out, your telephone is going to be out, which is going to make your Helpline inoperable if you have the landline unit. So we have been, for those clients who have a managed telephone service, cable internet, or fiber, all those services require power to operate. And so we've been suggesting a unit like this for your Helpline needs, because it does not, it has a great backup battery, 24 to 36 hours, but it does not rely on a phone line that's working. Our mobile options here, the beauty of this system is that, again, it operates off of cellular. It can be used anywhere in Canada. So our monitoring station has the ability to say if Sam's mom had this button out on the West Coast, if she pressed the button, we would be able to locate through the device where she is, and we'd be able to dispatch the local authorities to that location. So we obviously wouldn't be dispatching Sudbury EMS to someone who is out in Vancouver. So that's the beauty of dealing with a monitoring station. It has that capability, but then also with a mobile device. So the ideal client would be the active aging adult who likes to travel, is going maybe to visit friends or relatives, things like that across Canada. It does not work in the US. So for those snowbirds, this device would not work in the US. Things to note about differences of this device is that it's only water resistant. So you can wear it in the shower, but it does have an open speaker here. So water is going to seep in. The other thing too is that it does require daily cradle charging. And it's nice, the older versions used to have to plug them in. The nice thing now is that you just drop it on the charger, it charges within a few hours, and then it's ready to go. I'm just going to take a quick stop there and see if there's any questions thus far.
So if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to add them to the chat box or use the raise hand function and we can allow you to speak. So we'll just give folks a quick second to see if any come through, but I don't see anything yet, Gord.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So just want to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I saw a chat.
You may cover this a little bit later in your presentation, but there's just a question from Lori about the cost associated with the helpline.
Yeah. Thanks, Lori. I'm going to absolutely get to pricing out of all the devices. Thank you for asking. So I want to just chat about what happens when you actually press the button. Who takes your calls? What are they doing? How well they're trained? And we get these questions all the time. And so I think it's really important to have a good understanding of what happens when someone presses the button. So when someone presses the helpline button, it's locally monitored here in Sudbury. And believe it or not, folks in the north love the fact that they're speaking with someone in the north. I'm not sure why. I guess it's just that maybe they know the area, things like that. But they've told us they love the fact that we are a local monitoring station. All of our operators go through a very rigorous training program. The organization is called APCO, and it's an organization on public safety and communication. So it's a lengthy course you must pass to be a call taker, and 100% compliance from all of our call takers. They must be APCO certified to become a call taker. That's just the entry into the role. We have bilingual operators on staff at all times, and our monitoring station never shuts down. We are open 24/7, 365. So if you need help on Christmas Eve because Santa came crashing through the window, you push your button, we're going to get you help. We're going to be there always. We have access to translation lines for those who, English or French is not their primary language. We can certainly provide assistance there with no problems at all. I put in this fact that we are ULC listed monitoring station. So that is an Underwriters Laboratory of Canada certification. And what that means is that Northern 911 as a monitoring station must pass rigorous standards. There is an inspection, an annual inspection, and there's just certain things to become a ULC listed monitoring station. So what that means is that you're dealing with a monitoring station which is of very high standards. The other thing too I wanted to mention about our call takers is, other than being professional and things like that, the station as a whole is a 5-diamond certified monitoring station. The certification is through the Monitoring Association, and we've won this 7 years in a row. So we won it again here in 2021. It requires an annual recertification process. They do random inspections, so we have no idea when these inspections are going to happen. They just, that's why they're random. They want to catch us when we're not expecting it, to evaluate our customer service, our call quality, our call clarity, things like that. All of our call takers are they have scripts to follow. So, they're going to address you professionally. And this is really important for when you're dealing with someone who's in frantic need of assistance. And again, the highest level of customer service, that has to be demonstrated to be a 5-diamond certified monitoring station. So when you press your button, what happens? So when you press your button, all of our buttons have an LED that flashes. So for those who are hearing impaired, they can actually see the LED flashing on the button. And that's a good thing, because for me, it would be if I was pressing the button and I couldn't hear the panel going off, but I could see the light flashing on the button, that would give me a sigh of relief that I know that I've pressed the button hard enough and I know I'm going to get help. And that's a big comfort to folks. If say they have hearing aids and the hearing aids are out and they can't hear a thing at night, they see the light, they know that they've pressed the button, and they know that we're going to get them help one way or the other. So, and that's a big thing for our clients. Our professional call takers are going to speak to you through the actual box on the two-way voice. And if you have a mobile button, they're actually going to speak to you through the button. They're going to ask you in a professional manner what the situation is and if you need assistance. If you require an ambulance, or if you say I need police, or there's a fire here, we're going to dispatch the appropriate authorities. And then you would have provided us with a list of responding parties. And these are caregivers, family, friends, that we would then reach out to let them know that an ambulance is on the way. And that's a good thing. That the son or the daughter knows that an ambulance is on their way. The other thing that I always get asked is, well, my mom lives in a 2-story home, or it's a larger home, and we've put the Helpline panel in the front room, but mom sleeps in the back room. We know that the two-way voice is not going to work from. They're not. When I say won't work, we're not going to hear them, and they may not hear us. So when the button gets pressed, we're going to try and speak to the client through the actual box. If there is no response, we're going to call the landline. And if Mrs. Smith picks up and says, it's just a false alarm, no problem, we'll document it and move on. But if no one answers that phone, we assume it's a medical situation, and we will always dispatch an ambulance. And then again, we would contact the responding party. So, I don't want folks to be concerned, well, I can't hear very well, or I don't speak loudly, or I have a bigger home. All you have to do is press the button. And when I do installations, I tell our new clients, they have 2 new jobs, and those jobs are to wear the button and press it when they need it, and we will get them the help. From a pricing perspective, it varies depending on device. Our at-home system, so with the landline, $39.95. At-home system cellular, it's $5 more a month, and that's to cover the cellular cost. The home and on the go, so that's our mobile button that you speak into, works anywhere in Canada, $69.95. And then we have a GPS tracker, and that is the monthly rate is $49.95, but that's with the purchase of the watch itself. We don't sell them because the antenna is in the wristband. Now, in terms of professional installation, so we have 2 options. You can do a self pickup and install it yourself. And And the one good thing that has come out of COVID is we really refined our process in terms of, having the family install it, provide excellent pictures, excellent step-by-step diagrams. We're always available to assist. So certainly when it was the height of COVID last year, I would say more than 80% were doing a self-installation. And we still see that trend, not as high, but that is possible to do a self-installation. If you'd like us to come out and do it, it's $39.82, and you're saying, well, why is it $39.82 before tax cord? And the reason being is that when we would do installations, family or the aging adult would pay us in cash, and so we made it $45 even with taxes, and so it makes it very simple for them, and they appreciated that. Home and on the go. $45 for shipping and activation, and the same for the GPS tracker. Lock boxes. Now, every year I hear of a story where a client has pressed their button, they have had a fall, their front door has been locked, and no family has been able to get over there with the key. And so what the ambulance will do is they will try and gain access, and they're very creative. I've spoken with EMS and presented to them in the past and find out what their tricks are, and they'll try find an open window or something like that. But if all else fails, they will call police and fire, who will then gain entry one way or the other, breaking a window, breaking a door down. And sadly, the cost of repair is at the family's expense. So on every install, we always bring up the topic about a lockbox. And so how the lockbox works is that you would put a home key in there. We would put this lockbox on a particular door, and that combination, that 4-digit combination, would be in our monitoring station. So if we ever dispatched for Mrs. Smith, we would provide the location of the lockbox and the code to get in. And I actually have a lockbox here, and no, they're good and secure. They're a nice heavy weight waterproof lockbox. They will work around a door knob or a door handle. The only thing that they won't work on is a door lever, because you can just basically slide it off. And if you need a lockbox, then we can always find other creative ways. A railing encased in cement is always helpful. Just don't put it on the bottom to cover it in a foot of snow in the middle of winter. So we do have lock boxes. From a pricing perspective, we have reduced the price of our lockbox price. If you were to go on to online, you'd be $50 all day long for a good quality lockbox. So we have priced ours at $29.95, and the reason being is that we want to encourage new clients to purchase a lockbox. So they are available, and I highly encourage a lockbox. If you prefer to hide a key, if you have an electronic deadbolt, that works just as well. Just give us the code, and we will make sure that ambulance has that to gain access. So I'd like to ask our poll number 4. Do you think personal medical buttons are a good idea for aging adults to support aging at home? I'm hoping for 100% participation and everybody to say yes.
Gord, would you mind, while we're just waiting for people to complete the poll, there's just one question that came up in the chat box.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So Janice has just asked, what if I have my own lockbox already? So would somebody be able to provide you a code for an existing lockbox?
Yeah, that's a great question. So question was, if you have your own lockbox or something, you've had it from past things like selling a home or something like that. The short answer is absolutely. Provide us with the key, with the combination and the location of it, and then we will certainly add that into our monitoring station. We like to be really specific as to the location of the lockbox and what key it opens. In some cases, we have lock boxes on the front door, but that key doesn't operate the front door. It actually operates a side door. So it's really important that we are specific, that you're specific with us, and we will certainly ask for the specificity as to of the location of the lockbox. Thank you for the question. So 100% think it's a good idea. So that puts a smile on my face. And I completely agree. We want to certainly prevent you from lying on the floor.
I've got another question in the chat here, Gord, if you're okay with me interrupting again.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm finished. So let's turn it over to questions.
Okay, so the lockbox fee, is it a one-time fee or monthly?
That's a great question. And you know what? Something I'm going to add to future presentations is it's a one-time purchase fee.
So we've got a hand up. So I'm going to ask Micheline if she wouldn't mind unmuting herself and coming asking a question.
Thank you.
Hi, Gord. As I mentioned to you just sometimes we might wait too far. Like, I think this is something we can do preventatively. So if you're somebody who lives alone, even if you're not experiencing falls, it's the idea that you have this sort of line of defense. And I guess my question is, so do people sometimes within a medical, like if there's a, have you had people use it for if there's an intruder or something like that? Is that, or are people just resistant to hitting the button to begin with? I guess I have a couple questions in there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, some good questions. So, let's see, I'll tackle this question. So a lot of our clients come after it's reactionary. So something has already happened. We get calls from, we have some great relationships with the North Bay Regional Hospital, with Health Sciences North, with all the health units, and they'll call us if a client's being discharged and said, we're sending Mrs. Smith home. She has no family, and we want her to be safe. And that's my biggest worry, is that a client's being discharged. It's great that they're being discharged, but they're going home and potentially to an unsafe environment. And what happens if they have a fall in the kitchen and the phone's in the other room? So that's why I think it's so important to have a button. You had asked about, do people push the button for other reasons than needing an ambulance? And the quick answer is yes. We will have some clients, not very often. I read all the dispatch reports every day without fail as to why we dispatch. I would say 9 out of 10 are for ambulance dispatches. But we have the odd occasion where a client might say, I think there's someone breaking in, or I can smell smoke, or things like that. We have cases where maybe a friend is visiting the person who has a button, and their friend is not feeling well, so they'll press their button. They'll press their own button to get their friend some help, and that's fine. I mean, that's what the service is there for, and the call takers are there to do what you ask them to do. And so they will always follow a certain script and get you the help that you need. Did that answer your question, Micheline?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Now, I was asked a question before, and I wanted to make sure I touched upon it. And in the chat, it said, I used to care for someone with a button who absolutely refused to press it. And this is a tough one. I mean, as a caregiver myself, we provide the button in hopes that they will press it. And certainly we don't want to use scare tactics and things like that. But I think it's important to remind them, and I was with a family last night, and I distinctively heard the doctor says, we really want to keep you at home as long as possible, Mom. And so this is one way of doing that. And I don't, that's not a scare tactic at all. It's the reality is, Mom, we want to keep you at home. We know that you love your home. We want you to be independent. This is one sort of very inexpensive way of keeping you at home safely. And I think that really resonates with people is I'd love to stay in my own home as long as possible. Absolutely. And so pressing it is wearing it is one thing, but then pressing it is another. And I toyed with having a poll in there about the funniest things that or not the funniest things I've heard, but the things that I've heard about why people don't press the button. And I think it's important to bring to light that some folks say, well, I didn't want to bother anybody, and it's no bother from a client perspective. It's like your family loves you. They want to help you. So it's important to push that button and not be found on the floor the next day. The other thing too that we often hear is why they didn't press the button is that I don't want to go to the hospital, and not in all cases if you press the button are you going to be going to the hospital. So things like lift assist, yeah, we're going to dispatch an ambulance for you if you tell us that you need a lift assist, and it's going to be up to the ambulance to sort of figure out do you need more acute attention at the hospital. So not in all cases are you going to go to the hospital. Maybe it's just they're going to get you up. They're going to make sure that check you out, make sure you're okay, and then that would be it. So I think it's important to sort of reiterate, and certainly from Helpline we try and talk about those things just to dispel those myths. See that Lori has raised a hand.
If you don't mind, Gord, there was just a question that came in through the chat box that I think came in before Lori's hand. So I'll get to this one first and then perhaps unmute. So it just says, if the button is accidentally pressed and the client doesn't answer the phone when you call, is there a charge for getting the ambulance there?
That's an excellent question. I'll get it all the time. So at least in Sudbury and in North Bay, you are only charged if the ambulance transports you to the hospital. And if there's folks on the panel that have more concrete information on that, please pipe in. But I know 100% in Sudbury that you would not be charged if they just came to your home and say provided you with a lift assist. And I do recall past conversations with Stay on Your Feet members is that the same applies for North Bay.
Thanks for that. I'll give Lori, I'll allow you to unmute yourself.
Hi, Lori.
Lori, you're free to click your microphone button if you'd like to speak.
Well, maybe
we may have already answered Lori's question.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, absolutely.
No problem.
And I don't see any other questions coming in through the chat box, so perhaps we'll just give folks another moment or two if there happens to be any questions that come up. But while we're doing that, I just want to say thank you again, Gord, so much for your presentation. I think it was really informative and great to hear. And I see you have your contact information on the slide. So for folks who are looking to get in touch or to perhaps purchase or inquire a little bit further, would they access that through the website and or contact the phone number that's on the slide here?
Yeah, any method is fine. You can call me directly. If you indicate that you heard about us through the presentation, we'll certainly waive the installation fee for you. Email and website as well. Everything that I showed you is on our website as well if you'd like to have a little bit more information. But certainly any of those numbers will work. And we're open 24/7. So if you have a question on the weekend, please don't wait till Monday, give us a call.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And so in the couple moments where we've been chatting about that, which was, I feel like a great way to end things, I didn't see any more questions come through or hands go up. So just going to close this session now with another big thank you to all of our attendees, and thank you again to Gord for your presentation.